Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the first day of the Fast Lane. We're going to be going fast through a bunch of great matches here. We've been memeing the entirety of Season 1, and we're finally here. It's me, Valdez, with Rapid, of course, and we got some pretty sick games today, some good players.
Because I'm taking over Wolf's seat, I automatically have to lower it down there a little bit. Now we're good.
You shrank a little bit.
That's very true. I'm actually just standing on my knees down here, and I just have to crouch further down. This chair is an illusion. There's no bottom to it at all. But yeah, welcome back. We've got more StarCraft coming up just after the conclusion of the first season of SSL. We are back again, and this is going to be what is essentially the up and down matches of the SSL series format. We've got players that will advance on to Premier and players that will drop down to Challenge. There's a total of 4 players playing today. Then tomorrow, or not tomorrow, but the next day, day 2 of the Fast Lane, we'll add 2 more players. And each day, 2 players advance on to the next season of Premier.
Yeah, really the question is to be Premier or not to be Premier.
Oh, God,
and that is the question. So
it is.
That's what we're answering tonight. 4 of these players are going to be Premier. 2 of them are going to have to go back down to Challenge, and all of them have a chance for sure. When you look through the 6 names, of course, you got Dark, Deer, Classic, and Maru today. But then for Fast Lane, day number 2, you have Byun and Patience. So any of these guys could make it up or down.
Yeah, that's very true. I think it's going to be kind of interesting. I always look at the names that are playing in these sort of elimination matches or promotion matches, and these are all players that have had an incredible amount of success. You look at guys like Gumiho, didn't even make it into the postseason for Challenge, and he's in the GSL finals. So it's just like, just because players are not here or if they drop out, they're still incredibly skilled players, but they do have to win on the days that it does matter, and that's today, Brendan.
And it looks like we're going to be jumping into that pretty soon. Of course, our first matchup of the day is going to be Dark versus Deer, as we are going to get that revealed to you guys in just a minute. If you are joining the stream late or you don't know the format, it's just going to be the dual tournament format, that GSL format that everybody knows from the round of 32. Yep. You got the winner's match, the loser's match after the first 2 matches, of course, and then you got that final one to decide who's the last guy to get it.
I was going to call them upper and lower matches to be a little bit more politically correct, but they just say winners and losers there on the screen. Imagine trying to sugarcoat the idea that somebody has lost a game when you're literally seeing it on your screen. Just because it says that somebody is victorious does not mean that everyone is victorious, Brendan.
It's true.
But you know who are victorious today? The fans.
The fans are always victorious.
That's right. Big fans, small fans, fans of all sizes coming out today to watch these 4 players. And like you said earlier, these are our first 2 players, Dark versus Deer. They have played once in Legacy of the Void. But to be fair, Deer is looking pretty good. He had a very surprisingly strong finish to the challenge portion. And so I'm really looking forward to see what he's going to bring out against Dark, a Zerg player who you would never underestimate in any circumstances, but really struggled in Premier.
Yeah, the funny thing with this match is that Deer, you said he had a very strong end to Challenge, and that's quite true. He defeated Hero 3-1, and then he defeated Byun 3-0. But we didn't really get to see him play against any Zergs, so we don't know where his PvZ is at right now in offline matches. So I really want to get to see, can he do something here against Dark?
That's going to be really awesome to watch. Our second series of the night will be Maru versus Classic, and I think this is just the battle of 2 of the heaviest hitting StarCraft players in modern history. Maru versus Classic, a battle of the GSL round of 4 losers who have come back to battle it out.
What a title.
And essentially a GSL 3rd place match here. It's only a best of 3, but it's going to be really awesome to watch 2 of the heaviest hitting players that have been around in StarCraft in recent history. Both of them champions in their own right. Maru, I guess, has done very well on Jin Air, is sort of the staple of them of their lineup through Pro League. It's just insane to watch then, and then, of course, has done very well as one of the 4 horsemen of the Terran Apocalypse. Going to be cool to watch that. But let's talk about our first series. It's going to be Dark taking on Deer.
Yeah, and the thing about Dark is, you see there it says 6th place in Premier, but in Premier we had so many strong Zergs, and Dark went 0-2 against both of them.
Yeah.
Outside of that, he lost to Innovation, and he had 1 loss against Alive. So if you look at that Alive loss, maybe you can say, okay, well, he's going down to a guy who's also kind of middle of the pack, but I feel like Dark definitely is a little bit better of a player than what his results show with 6th place in Premier. And I would favor him coming into this match against Deer.
And you know, it's really an interesting matchup, not even just considering the players, but PVZ is a matchup a lot of people have been talking about. Here's the Protoss component of that matchup, Deer on your screen. It's been very Zerg favored lately, lots of Hydra Bane all-in timings, really kind of a struggle town for the Protoss players. And then you watch tournaments like WCS Jönköping just yesterday, and we've seen Protosses just a bibbity-bopping Zergs everywhere. Had an absolutely insane series. I think it was Neve versus Cham or something like that. It was one of the best series I have ever watched in recent history. If you haven't seen those games, go back and watch them. They are absolutely insane. So, you know, it's a matchup that I feel like Protoss players that are on the cutting edge of their race are really starting to figure out. So I think there could be some cool things that come out tonight, even though you would maybe favor Dark over Deer.
Yeah, I mean, it is a best of 3 here for this first matchup, so it really could go either way at this point. And although we're getting both these players on the screen, as of now, I don't think I'm in the right lobby, although I am in the lobby with only Dark. So there seems to be a little bit of confusion about exactly where we're going, even though this lobby does have us on Newkirk Precinct, which is game number 1.
Well,
and,
yeah, we're just trying to get everybody in the right lobby here, so, yeah. So we're going to have to leave that, and then we'll get back into the next one, and we'll be ready to go. But, yeah, our first map is Newkirk Precinct. You were actually telling me a little bit earlier, Valdez, that this is not a good map for Deer.
Yeah, I mean, he's sitting at 0-5, but this is the map that he votes for most often.
Yeah.
9 times throughout all of Challenge. So he hasn't won a single game on the map that he votes the most, and he votes for it first here against Dark. Kind of funny as well that both of these players voted for the exact same maps in the exact same order. And Dark, in terms of map stats, again, he's 5-2 on Newkirk Precinct and 4-0 on Abyssal Reef. So those are definitely 2 of his maps that he's strong on. Sitting at 3-3 on Daybreak, whereas Deer is 3-2 on Daybreak and 3-5 on Abyssal Reef, just to round out those stats.
Right, so just looking at the players' records on these maps, you would give this to Dark a little bit more, especially on the first and third maps. It's looking pretty good. Just the matchup itself lately, especially in Korea, has been very Zerg favored, but the winds of change may be a blow-in, Valdez. So let's go ahead, and I think we are about ready to hop into our first game of the night. This is going to be a GSL dual tournament kind of format. Start things off. Which of these players will advance to the winner's match? What do you think, Valdez?
I'm thinking Dark, but again, we'll see if Deer has done his research, if he's watching the games, and if he's got something nice prepared here for Dark, because these players have had a lot of time to prepare for these matchups. It looks like we're ready to jump into game number 1, guys, so let's do it going into Newkirk Precinct for Deer versus Dark, game number 1. Fly, better fly, Jin Air. Here we go. Game number 1 has started down in the bottom left. The purple Zerg. It is Dark.
And his opponent, the yellow Protoss player, this is Deer. All right, so, you know, I was looking at the map records for both of these players and expecting maybe this is a bad map for Deer and he goes for some cheese, but because he picks it all the time, maybe this is just kind of his comfort zone. When he uses to kind of test the waters, it's going to be kind of interesting to watch, and it does look like we should be starting out with a relatively standard game. Every time Zergs build drones early on, I get really excited because we don't have any super crazy pools of any early timings. And in fact, I would actually expect to see Dark go for an earlier hatchery here as well, and it looks like that's exactly what he's doing.
Yeah, I'd like some more pools in my life. It's getting pretty hot here in Korea.
That is very true.
The temperature is going up. It's not ultra humid yet, which the late Korean summer can definitely get to, but
we're getting there.
It's still pretty hot, and I definitely miss the American style, you know, private pool in the backyard.
Man,
I never had one of those, but you know, a couple of my friends would. And, you know, you always got to visit the house, jump into the pool.
The
Must
idea
be pretty nice. We don't really have that here. You got to go to the public pool.
Oh,
for
definitely.
That.
The idea that you own a pool on your house in Korea is just like the most ludicrous idea I have ever heard.
At least not in Seoul.
Oh, no, definitely. You got to go out into like the middle of the mountain. There's like a random hot spring in your backyard. That's how you get there. All right, so just scouting drone coming out here with a couple of overlords sent across the map, and it was pointed out earlier on today in the WCS Yongshipping bracket that one of the problems that happens for a lot of Zerg players is that they'll send out a couple of early scouting overlords, but if those get pushed back, a lot of times it's very difficult for them to sort of figure out what's coming their way. That's mostly in like a ZVT matchup, but here we go. All right, so we're talking about the players that are playing and wanting them to advance to the next round.
From Monday to Monday, from Saturday to Saturday, I didn't see the end of that sign, actually.
I don't either. They took it down already anyway. So
he actually already folded it, too.
Wow.
He's like, he's done with that sign. It is done.
It had its moment, but like a firework, it exploded, and now it is no more. So yeah, scouting, very important to see what's coming your way, and this is a matchup that is been a lot talked about. We talked about that a little bit earlier. Zergs like to build a lot of Hydralisks, a lot of Banelings, and bust things down. Now, one of the ways that you can stop that from happening is by going for early Archon drops. That's not what we're going to see here, at least immediately, so it'll be kind of cool to see Deer's take on how Protoss comes out ahead.
Definitely has that option in a little bit. You can see Dark actually making a bunch of links here with this speed. Maybe he's seen something that makes him want to get a little bit aggressive because he's sitting on only 22 drones and he keeps on making only lings. So you were talking about a straight up game, but I think Dark has seen a crack in the armor and wants to go for something here.
Okay, so this is going to be really cool to watch because we're going to see a very interesting timing. We were talking about, you know, maybe some other traditional builds, how Zergs, you know, have looked to build to win this matchup earlier. This is not that. We're going to see a double drop Overlord. This is the first one. I thought I saw a second one morphing there, but here we go. The pro will scout this out.
Yeah, so Deer knows this is coming. We'll see how he does respond to this. He does put up 3 extra gateways to try to create a wall at the front, but these 8 probes in the main, he is going to pull them away, tries to make a pylon to block as well.
8 Zerglings in the main, yeah. There were only 8 probes in the main. He'd be in a lot of trouble. But here we go, ferrying the rest of the probes down. Probes actually dealing surprisingly well, but here's that second drop overlord full of Zerglings. More and more being ferried inside of Deer's base.
Yeah, I like that he goes for the main here because with no pylon, you cannot defend this at all. He can't overcharge, so he's just going to lose his main nexus. Dark will commit to that now. And he's still making lings, funnily enough, so he thinks that he can continue this pressure. Okay, finally switching into drones after taking out the nexus.
And that wall was 1 stalker thick at the front, so he actually kills the stalker off. He can continue to pressure that front door, and there are 0 buildings, Valdez, inside Deer's main at this point.
Look at this, we got a Baneling nest follow-up, so he doesn't have Overlord speed, so the Baneling drops would be hard, but
look at how that Overlord
definitely could try to bust.
Kind of prepping for maybe Baneling drops in the future, and I think that's what he might be setting up for here as the Baneling nest does look to complete. He just moves the drop Overlord over that mineral line. It's like, you know what, if there were Banelings here, I could drop them. Maybe that's what's coming up.
Still no Overlord speed, though. It is grouping up a bunch of his lings at the front, so he might just try to go for a bust there.
And it does look like indeed he is pressuring that. Will start targeting down the Robo, and with the Warp Prism coming out, I mean, that is not going to shoot and help clear out these lings. There's only a couple of overcharges up at the top of the ramp to push them back, and can't do that forever.
It's definitely a very funky game. This is not standard. We were talking about how Deer was having trouble on this map, but I don't think he could have predicted this kind of play out of Dark. And we used to see this in the past. You know, 2016, he would drop into the main on maps such as Overgrowth, where he could, you know, just easily get them in there, put some pressure on. But because this map is so big, it's definitely going to be very hard for Deer to get over to Dark space and do too much damage here. It does have a Dark Shrine about to complete.
Yeah, but I mean, there's so much left at home here for Dark to defend. A lot of times it's Zergs, if you do go a little bit too hard, overextend a little bit, either you lose your early Zerglings or they're out on the map when you really just need to defend against this big warp in coming in. Now, that being said, Deer is behind off of that early aggression. He is finally starting to repopulate his main, but I mean, that's just going to be a little bit behind schedule, Valdez, when you expect to have quite a bit there by now.
Okay, he's going to have one Spore here, and he's trying to delay these Dark Templar.
Oh, now he can actually kill the Dark Templar by exploding Banelings next to them. I've seen that in a couple of games where you don't have detection, but it's just not a great idea. It's not how you want to spend your Banelings. And the DTs have been pushed back for now.
Yeah, he does have his lair complete, so if he wants to make a bunch of Overseers, he can. We don't actually see him do that just yet. He's committing to mostly just roaches with speed.
He's killing off that pylon to try to get out of his natural. I think you almost want to leave that up at this point because there's an attempted Zergling run by that was on its way, headed back out for now. So I don't know. Do you feel like Deer is kind of stabilized? He's still at a big worker deficit.
Yeah, he's definitely in a really rough spot. He's still on only 43 workers. His army supply is incredibly low, whereas Dark, he's looking to hit a timing with Lings, Banes, Roaches. I saw one Ravager. Starts
a Ravager.
Yeah, the Ravager.
The Ravager, that's right.
Mr. Ravager to you, Reed. And yeah, he's got that Baneling speed on the way too. So definitely mix that in.
Well, here comes the Archon drops that we were talking about a little bit earlier. They're kind of coming back into popularity just as a way to put on this pressure, harassment, very difficult to deal with in a lot of ways. Whoa, those are some clumped up drones, but they will get out of there. And here comes Deer's army pushing up to the front. There are a few DTs mixed into that. It's kind of cool. Usually you just see all the DTs morphed into Archons, but saving a couple just in case there are loopholes.
And there are actually no Overseers right now. So he definitely needs to get some of those. I think he's got one Spore, and that's at the third. So if Deer noticed this, then he could definitely get a little bit of damage done.
Yeah, there would be no detection in the game for our Zerg player Dark if that one Spore went down. That's a little bit ludicrous to think of because Zergs almost kind of reflexively make Spore crawlers against Protoss, especially if you're expecting like a Stargate opening. That's not what we had this time around, but I don't know. It could be a vulnerability. Archon drop finally being pushed away with triple queens in the main, and so now we get to look for phase 2, how Deer wants to come back. Let's come back in the worker count. Back up to even there after some successful harassment. But this is phase 2 of Dark's attempt to win this game. He's going to be morphing a ton of Ravagers, a ton of Banelings, and even though Deer will see that with this Warp Prism, this is a lot of Zerg coming his way into a very vulnerable third base.
Yeah, look at that army of the Protoss right now. He's got 3 sentries against that many Ravagers and just overall stuff here from Dark. It's definitely going to be a bit of trouble for him. He's doing a nice bit of pressure on the left side with those Archons, but again, I think he's going to need a lot more. Here we go. Dark coming from 2 sides for the attack.
Not enough force fields to surround this army. Biles raining down from on high, and more Ravagers than Protoss units. Banelings rolling into the mineral line. This is not going to be good for Deer.
Yeah, that's going to be the fight ending and probably game number 1 ending as Dark, following up his early aggression with the Ling drops, is going to be able to take this one. Deer, he's holding on for dear life, but not working out for him here, and it looks like his Newkirk Precinct's record might just go to 0-6.
I mean, it's a bad map for Deer for a reason. Didn't see that early aggression coming in, and even when he did see the drop overlord coming in with that early probe, just kind of evacuating the main and giving it up, didn't put him in quite a good spot this game. And now as the Zerg streams across the map, pouring into this natural, I really love how Dark is just not going to commit to that because he knows he's won already. Game 1 goes Dark.
Looks really relaxed. Doesn't seem like that taxed him all too much. Takes a small sip of that water, but nice build by him there. Actually, if that goes totally undetected, you are going to lose your main just because there were no pylons. Dark, he saw the front entrance. Right. I think he saw the second pylon there as well, and he's like, oh, you're just not going to have stuff in the main, and I can just drop it in the main. If you don't have any units there and no pylons to defend, then even just 8 Lings can really take you out.
It's a very important realization, and I love watching players play who have the most intimate knowledge of when they can just run across the map and kill your opponent. A lot of times at Zerg, you want to get that big economy rolling, just a snowball out of control. But if you can just kill your opponent, there's no reason to play a longer game. And just really cool to see Dark hit that kill switch, run across the map, and take Deer down in game 1.
Yeah, so we are going to be jumping into Daybreak for game number 2. Definitely another big map, and we'll see how this one goes down. Let's jump into game number 2 right now. Here we go, jumping on to Daybreak.
Do we not fly bet or fly for our second
Only
game?
in the first game.
Wow.
Only in the first game. Up here, or down here in the bottom left, it's Dark.
This is that wacky Premier format I'm not used to, Brendan. All right, and here's his opponent, Deer. Okay, so Deer may be a little bit traumatized from having to, bring out his extra 2 hands to micro his way away from losing immediately in game number 1. He did hold it out and was on the way to getting a 3rd base, which was pretty impressive considering what he had to deal with losing his main so early on. Now, I'm almost going to guarantee that we see a pylon at least placed somewhere in the main base this time, just in case the same thing happens again.
Yeah, Daybreak, another map that you could potentially do that kind of strategy on. You see Deer is going for a very similar block at the front. It would be a little bit harder. It might take, an extra 5-10 seconds maybe to get those links into the main, but still it is viable. It definitely is an option here for Dark.
It's a little bit harder to scout on Daybreak just because you can launch it from the, I guess, theoretical 3rd base next to the main and then bring it over the chasm in between. But with this very early Nexus and Hatchery coming down once again, this game will look relatively similar until it took that sort of turn for the worse. That's how you know you don't have enough laudanum in your covered wagon. Once things take a turn for the worse, you can't turn them back.
That was a fun game. I haven't played in a long time.
That was I think one of my
first used to scare me a little bit too.
Games. Yeah, when you're fording the river.
Yeah.
Your horses run away.
I just remember there would be like a loud noise and like the cracking of the wagon.
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh, what's that?
All right, and I just want to point out the reaction there from Deer, putting a pylon right on that drop trajectory from that 3rd into the main.
Nice.
That is a direct reaction to game number 1. Don't drop me, bro. That's what that pylon's saying. If it could talk. I'm anthropomorphizing my pylons, Valdez.
Maybe it can. Maybe we just don't have the technology to talk to the pylons, but they're talking to us.
StarCraft 3, the pylons can talk.
They're calling out to us, but we can't really communicate with them.
I don't speak pylonese, man.
Yeah, it's kind of unfortunate. But looks like Dark is not going to do that strategy this time. He's just droning up extra drones after 22, and pretty safe, standard, normal stuff here from Dark, whereas Deer going for a Stargate pretty fast. Okay,
so we are going to see a little bit of a different phase of the game. We never quite got here. I think if we check the Army tab, you're just going to see not very much here for Dark. Actually, he's invested a little bit more than Deer has. Neither player, this is sort of the No Rush 3 game right now. A couple of Zerglings do get into the main, and they will be able to scout out that Stargate, so very, very good information going Dark's way. And he's going to throw down a Roach Warren a little bit before you would expect that. He might, sense those oracles coming, but he's not going to react to that by building, spores just yet or anything crazy. Going for this Roaches might look for another very aggressive timing.
And you know what? I'm not sure if this is really going to work. I mean, Daybreak is a really big map, and Deer does have his front set up. The only thing is that, of course, Oracles aren't going to be good in a straight-up fight against just the Roaches, but they definitely can get a nice bit of damage. But as you were saying, another aggressive attack out of Dark, this time with Roaches, and he is on that very low drone count, so he's going to have to go straight for the main, and that is where Deer is going.
Yeah, stopping here at 22, and there is a Spore morphing. It's about halfway done, so it won't be done in time to stop this Oracle from getting in there. Where is that Queen? Is there just no Queen in the main? Okay, well that's pretty bad. That means these little tiny gas drones, they're going to die. The rest of the drones, they will die as well. Really kind of strange to see that queen pulled away there, even when you do scout that Stargate. Now, there are Zerglings now in the main, and this is going to get a little bit of damage done, but the roach pressure is going to be what's so difficult for Deer to deal with.
He needs that Void Ray ASAP to deal with this. Look at that army right now. All the roaches streaming on in through the front door, pulling all those probes, trying to fight here.
Oracle even coming back to try to help out, but this is so much damage being done. Even morphing a Ravager right in the front to save one of those low health roaches. Roaches getting a lot of damage done, and look at the probes falling one after another.
I love how he focuses down that one pylon immediately after Deer tries to block off the front once again. Has Dark done it twice in a row? It looks like it.
There's nothing on the production tab here for Deer. He can't build anything out of any of the buildings there at the wall, and even though there is this very strong Void Ray out, it's going to be very slow with that prismatic alignment, and even though now you can cancel that, I mean, that just means less damage and all these probes going down. This is way too much damage. Dark with an incredibly strong early aggressive lead.
He's going to lose every single probe, every last one. That one Void Ray can't do it alone. GG. Dark with the quick 2-0. And they don't call it the fast lane for nothing. Dark, he wants to take that speed in Jin Air plane up to the Premier League once again.
I mean, this is both fast and, if you look at Dark's play, pretty furious as well. Not content to play these long games, just knowing exactly when Deer is going to be vulnerable based on the builds that he chooses, and sees the Stargate coming and knows that there is no amount of roaches that one Oracle can kill, given a normal standard game, and he is not willing to play one. Goes for that early aggressive, kills off Deer 2-0 to make it to the winner's match.
Yeah, Deer got Bopperino kind of just
expert
slapped around there by Dark.
Valdez. I approve.
We hopped into Abyssal Reef, but we're not going to have Abyssal Reef.
There's no third game.
We don't have a third game. It's done.
Well, we do have a commercial break, Valdez. We're going to head off to there. Join us back in a couple minutes for our second best of 3.